Hey, you've summoned a lesser maker. Today, we're going to delve deeper into the Mordheim catacombs. This board is intimidating because it is by far the biggest thing I've ever built on this channel. And I've been making videos every week for a year. For more than a year, actually. Alright, last time we built this cathedral. This is quote unquote finished down here, but we're going to be adding a lot more details in the end. Going back and forth with these projects is pretty normal for me. This next section, we're going to add some more layers, add more spots for this crane to be, and some roots with scaffolding on there to kind of hint at the world above. And I think that would be really neat. So when I think about this project, I just want to lay in bed all day and not do anything, but I just need to get started. So I've been designing STL specifically for this build, and I'm going to be using these as puzzle pieces to make this project really stand out. In my opinion, scratch building is really accentuated with 3D printed details that are basically impossible to handcraft yourself, and so it just kind of brings it up to the next level of detail. Patreon members who support the channel for $2 a month, they get early access to these files throughout the design process. Everyone will have access to these for free at the end of this entire build. So make sure you subscribe so you can stay in the loop when these and all the other STLs that I've been designing come available. I'm looking for a gothic upside down tower to kind of resemble a stalactite. So I'm basically trying to go for that silhouette. And so I've been drawing and sketching this over and over again. And finally, I just kind of decided that I just need to rough it out in 3D and just kind of stick to something, because drawing this in 2 dimensions just wasn't quite doing it enough for me. I'm going to be using XPS pink foam and a hot wire cutter to cut this stuff out, and I'm still kind of learning how to use this material and this tool. I did kind of forget to record some things. There's only so much space to work with here, and that's something that I couldn't have anticipated in a 2-dimensional sketch. Eventually, I got this all kind of figured out, and I think it ended up looking pretty good. This architectural flying buttress kind of made it look like it was being anchored in to the cavern, and that was a detail I was really happy with putting in. Unfortunately, this entire case didn't have enough room for more of these. Ideally, I probably would have had more. I decided on the outside of this building that I would put balconies, and I'm going to be using those 3D printed bits for those as well. Of course, I forgot to texture the XPS foam before I glued it all in, so I had to go in with a rock and do all that. I tried to go for some horizontal rock textures. I thought the horizontal striations would look really good, and I could kind of blend in some of the seams with the continuous texture running across the foam. And then I started gluing in the 3D printed bits. I thought each level deserved its own balcony, and I made sure there was enough room for a mini on each level. The story behind this in my mind is that this is the root structure of a cathedral that is above this whole cavern. This is the reason the catacombs are here, and this is the main entrance into this area. On the lower left side in the corner, you can see that there's some structures that are embedded into the wall here, and it's kind of like Petra or whatever. Like this has all been carved out of stone, and so that's my basic idea, is that this is the main entrance into this area. So you deploy your warband from here and stuff like that. You can really see how the 3D printed bits really accent and complement the scratch building. The 3D printed bits really draw the attention and allow the scratch building stuff to really just frame those details. One of the 3D files I made has some angles on it, and so I actually used that as a base for scratch building some stairs with popsicle sticks and this 3D printed bit. This wasn't something I intended when I made it, but it was one of those happy accidents that you guys could use if you end up 3D printing these. As another way to kind of hint city above, an improvised entrance on this side as well. This was really cool because it kind of let the material, this tree branch, to inform how I make this part. I secured it with hot glue at first, as you probably saw, but then I went in with some spray foam. I'm a huge fan of this because it works as an adhesive and it works to fill up space, and it really looks like it could be a part of the cave. I couldn't recommend this stuff enough for terraforming and stuff like that. As you can see, I sprayed it while it was upside down to make sure that the foam really stayed in the corner, and I let it sit overnight. The next morning it was fully expanded and I was able to kind of cut it away while wearing a mask with a hot wire cutter. I got a new can of spray foam this time, and it wasn't quite as nice to cut with the hot wire cutter as the previous one. So I just carved in some steps and made sure that the box could still close with the branches in there. That was a really, really important part. So you might be thinking to yourself, this is great, but you need to bridge the top and bottom together. And I plan on doing all of that on this section with vertical scaffolding. So I'm gonna scratch build this with popsicle sticks and some balsa wood. And while I do that, I just like to encourage you to leave a comment and like the video, because that really goes a long way to share this video with new people, especially with the small channel like mine. It just makes a huge difference. So thank you so much for doing that. If you have any questions about the build, I answer every comment, so feel free to ask down there. While building this, I really realized that I really need to make some STLs for ladders. Making ladders out of scratch building is just kind of tedious, and same thing with stairs. Scratch building stairs is not worth it in my opinion. So getting small details like that are really repetitive, 3D printed and 3D printable, I think is really helpful. So I'll make that STL, and hopefully I can get that out to the patrons real soon. While I finish the scaffolding, I'm gonna thank my Patreon members real quick. Thank you to Leroy, Feder, Caracol, Old School FRP, Burning Heart Custom Creations, James, Anders, Hanover, Grim Drunk, Treborius, Andy, Eric, Corey, Mike, Nicholas, The Lich's Laboratory, Cabu, Cameron, The Pessimist, Seb, and my mom. So thank you for that. I really appreciate your guys' weekly support to make these weekly videos, and I hope these STLs and these videos help you guys do your hobby better. Finally put up the last pieces of scaffolding, and now the real magic begins. The primer unifies all this material, and we can finally look to see how it turns out. And this is my favorite part of the build. Right before we start painting, I finally get to see how it looks all put together, and it's a really great feeling. You get one step closer to that finished product, and it really fuels me till the end of the build. When painting a build like this, it's really important to use cheap paint. So I use Dollar Tree paint exclusively. The brand name is called Rich Art Acrylology, and it's a really thick, covers really well, and it's very predictable. So I typically start with a dark brown. I mix in kind of a mustard color to do some highlights. I really want this to look dark, so every single time I mix a color, I add just a dot of black to it. That way it kind of unifies it and it looks like it's inside of a cave. Now there is a heck of a lot of wood here, so instead of painting the roots brown as well, I decided to paint it a gray. And the main reason is I was looking outside at my peach tree and I noticed that trees aren't brown. I decided that I would go with that kind of drab texture and color, and I think it looks pretty good. I've never seen the roots of a tree exposed in a cave, so I might have colored it the wrong color, but I just didn't want everything to be brown. So that was my creative choice for this time. And this is how it ended up. I'm super pumped, and I can't wait to see how this thing turns up. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and let me know if you have suggestions for the other side. I have a lot of plans, and we still have to do the main board on the bottom as well as the scatter terrain, so there's a lot to do. So make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for those, and I'm really excited to share this project with you guys. So thanks for following along. I hope you have a good one.